is it double Tom squared?
Well, I have all three of them.
Tom.
I have them all. Yeah, Tom. You get the Vanderpump bump here.
The Vanderpump bump. Let's go.
Mayo experience.
Mayo experience. Mayo experience. Mayo experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, presented by Underdog Fantasy, Scottish Open, DraftKings picks, final bets, tee times, lineup strategies, and a round one underdog pick and play, which you can always find down in the description if you want a tail, or hell, you can click on it and just do the opposite and fade. Sometimes that works out pretty well. Tambo from Ship It Nation is in studio with me, sir.
We're back, ready to go. This is a fun 2 weeks. Scottish Open, the Open. It's weird. We're recording like usually we have plenty of time. It's a similar thing in the evening, but we're like 12 hours from tee time, so a little bit different. Maybe not 12 hours, a little bit more, but still.
Unfortunately, well, I guess fortunately for us, it's not like the contests are filling any faster.
They're not. And the content's not, like everything else is still coming out at the same pace. We'll have our show this afternoon. Like just everything goes by that, but it is crazy that you could be up watching golf if you want to stay up tonight and be watching it overnight.
Code Mayo at Underdog Fantasy will get you a deposit bonus of up to $250. We got some big news on the Underdog front. Those Pick'em contests are coming soon. It finally got approved, so we have to get it registered in the system, which will be like a league of Pick'em contests for me, you, and all of the viewers. That's going to be fun. And there is a new playoff draft like there was for major season. So for the FedEx Cup, all three tournaments as an underdog draft tournament, you draft 6 people, and we're going to have a Pat Mayo Classic for that. I believe it's $25 or $20 and 10 max, and you can draft for like the next month. There's going to be a lot of strategy to that, I think, where if you draft right now, you don't necessarily know the guys on the bubble that are going to get in, so you could potentially get guys at super low ownership. You might be drafting against people who draft other players who are not even in the FedEx Cup. So there's going to be a lot of strategy that goes along with that, so I'm excited for it.
Yeah, that's a good format. I like that, and I also like when there is unknown variables, as you mentioned, because the bubble thing is always funny. We'll talk about it when we get to that, obviously, later in the season, but, this guy's on the bubble. He just has to sneak in. No, there's a reason he's on the bubble, and it's because he couldn't get it done, and he probably won't. So that's kind of the strategy you can apply to that when we have it as well.
Open Championship Week, I suppose, started for me on the weekend as that bonus show that I did with Blickle. People responded really well to it, so thank you, everyone who ended up watching that. I understand that, as I mentioned, that the production wasn't quite there for what we needed it to be, but I think it was well enough received that proof of concept, we can spend some money on that and make it a show.
Yeah, I bet you can.
What I want to do with it, like Blickle was playing it on the simulator, and I was kind of talking along with him. We lost his feed throughout it just because it was using so much bandwidth. So we got to get him hardwired in. We got to get his sim hardwired in. But I think what I do is that when he's playing the shots, I'll be here. It would help if I had someone else in studio to talk along with me while he is making a shot so there's not dead air. But maybe I bring up Fantasy National at the same time. He's like, oh yeah, this is a dogleg right, and you can leave yourself between this range and this range, and then go look up who's actually good at those ranges.
I thought you were just going to say you were going to get the MMN simulator, and you were going to get on it and get the internet. We're going to turn this backdrop into your setup and go from there. Paul's over here filming it.
I did have an idea to put a simulator over there once we first opened the studio.
Back this thing back up. Football season's coming up. Last year we were there. You could push this back, put a whole setup in here. You'd be all set to go.
Yeah, to use code Mayo at Underdog Fantasy, and maybe I can afford to go do that, all right? If you want to see that sort of content. But Open Championship shows for reals start Friday. I got Tom Jacobs and Jack Humphreys as a first look. We'll be talking more overview, Ryder Cup, the tournament, the course. I've already recorded the research show, so if you want the early link to the research show, along with all the final bets, the cheat sheets for the Scottish Open, sub to the free Mayo Media newsletter, Substack, Mayo Media, or just hit the description, get the link down there, and you can have early access to the research show. I actually really enjoyed the research show.
It's a good one. I mean, this, like I said, besides U.S. Open, which I've now coined as my favorite major, I still think this overlaps the history and the legacy of Augusta National Golf Club for the Masters for me. I really love the Open.
So we'll have 2 Open shows over the weekend, then the regular stuff, then cut sweats on Friday next week. Let's talk about the weather in Scotland for the week. It's shifted a little bit. There's going to be rain all day. There was rain all day Tuesday, rain all day Wednesday because it's Scotland. It's not like it's torrential downpours all the time, but it's going to be cold and a bit wet Thursday morning, and the wind has started to rear its ugly head with gusts up to 15, where in the afternoon it gets marginally warmer. It's going to be cold. For one thing, you're going to see toques out on the course.
Yep.
And the wind dies down a little bit in the afternoon. So PM AM might actually be the way to look here if there was a side to pick.
Side note, beanies for our American friends.
Oh, sorry.
We go toques. We're Canadian. But just to note it, too, I think one thing else about it, Pat, is that Your sweat. If you don't want to sweat anything until you wake up, you can just wake up. Everything's to the left. It's all good. And then hope your guys have a good PM round leading into the Friday AM round. But yeah, I think, and then hopefully wake up to guys making the cut. But overall, it looks a little bit like that. I do see like a wind spike in the middle of the day there, but it's just with the gusts. So it's to your point. It definitely looks like there could be a little bit of a PMAM, but I have no problem just mixing it up for an event like this.
And unless it becomes a torrential downpour or there's lightning, they're not going to stop playing. And as someone who tried to play last week, I actually played with Jared and Paul at my course. We played 9 holes. It started to like kind of drizzle out, a little bit of rain. Temps dropped down to like 16 Celsius. It was kind of windy. I think they were fine to play. I'm very soft when it comes to golf. I was like, I don't want to play in this anymore. Starting to get cold. I had to put on a sweater. This is even colder. So what is 11 degrees Celsius? Like 50 degrees Fahrenheit?
I'm
That's
not
like
the expert on that.
And that's like the max for the day on Thursday?
So it is 51.
51. Like that's not, I mean, that's Scotland golf weather.
I think it's what people are ready for. I know there's some over there that are getting ready, the week before and everything like that. But to me, it looks like what we're supposed to get in Scotland. I just hope that the rain and the torrential downpours and stuff like that hold off, because it looks right now like Thursday and Friday are pretty good. It's just rain leading up and then sprinkles here and there for the opening 2 rounds.
Yeah, I mean, the final 3 rounds are basically devoid of wind, but it's going to be below 60 degrees the entire time that they're in Scotland for this tournament. And I do think that affects a lot of players.
I was just going to say that too. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because I think that's also another thing. Just the scoring conditions. It's been really wet leading up. It's obviously wet literally leading up to right now. It's raining over there and going from there. But also some of the different years in the past. It looks like 2019 and 2021. Obviously, they started there in 19, but those 2 years looked like the go low type years. And that looks more like what we're going to see this year versus the 2020 22, 23, right? So just looking at the years that those guys went under, they were 18 under and I want to say 20 under.
I think it was 20 when Wiesberger won. I think he was 21 under. And beat Benjamin Herbert, or Ibert, because he is from France.
Who won in 19 the first year? Was it Minwoo?
No,
that was
Wiesberger won the first year.
Wiesberger's the first one.
Then
Who won in 21?
Minwoo won in 21.
That's what it was. I went backwards with it. Yeah, because I knew Minwoo won more recent. But yeah, that's the 2 years where guys really went low and seemed to match up more with the current conditions we're going to be looking at.
Yeah, but I mean, the day that Minwoo won, it was actually pretty dry. He charged from the pack and shot super low on Sunday.
Chipped in everything.
Yeah, so like the actual scores they actually kind of went backwards as the day went along there. I actually think it's going to be harder to score on Thursday than people might think. I mean, I could be dead wrong about that. Maybe the greens become more receptive. These courses are built that's never really the case. That you're going to lose some of the roll in the fairway. The lies and the fescue, when it's a bit wetter, are just going to be god-awful.
Yeah, my thing is more wind, too, I should know. Like, obviously, the rain leading up helps, but this course is no different than we talk about American Links courses. Like, if there's no wind, unfortunately, your score is going to be low. And that's what I'm seeing here. Like, there's a little bit of wind, like you said, crept up into Thursday, so it may be tougher. And when we get to the underdog pick'em, we can talk about that, how we want to attack it. But Friday looks like really no wind.
Yeah, no, Friday looks like it might be decent conditions. And if it does dry out, I think you're going to see some decent scores. But where it's cold and wet on Saturday, or on Thursday, I think that the scores are going to be higher than people might think. Because the wind is going to be one thing, but we saw people scoring 40-mile-per-hour winds last year on Sunday. Like, it was a problem for some other players. It wasn't so much of a problem. And sometimes the wind can help you if it's not a crosswind. If it's a backwind or a front wind, then it's easier to figure out. I just think that wet and cold is just going to affect some of these players. So I think I'm going to try to target some hires in terms of strokes for some of these players because, Benny Ann might shoot -9 again to be the first round leader. But I think that we're probably going to see like -4, -5 be first round leader, which means the majority of players are going to be like right around even.
Yeah, Benny Ann WD'd from the Travelers.
Yeah.
Remember that? He gave out all those tickets, and then he was gone. I think it was an injury. I can't remember, or an illness. But illness, sorry, is what he said. But I didn't see if he was on here yet for hires. That could be one.
Well, let's go jump to Underdog right now. Again, code Mayo at Underdog Fantasy, and we're going to try to come up with a pick'em card. We haven't been doing well with these. We've been getting a lot of. We got too greedy last week. We tried to do a 4 and 3 of them, or it was 2-0. It was 2 1-1 on the threes. It's been 2-1. They'll get you.
Anytime, I mean, that's the fun in it, but the 2 1-1s and stuff, it's just you're close, but you're not there, so yeah.
I mean, if you just play the insurance entries, you just win every time, but no one actually wants to do that.
No, playing to win, man.
So who do you want to target here? Do you want to target someone to go low or someone target to go high?
I think who were the hires you were thinking of? You were mentioning that, and I think that's one because we don't have, you've busted the bubble here on the fairway stuff. So
Yeah,
can't get those anymore.
They stopped offering those ones up. Like even someone like Justin Thomas, for example, like 68, that's 2 under. I would take higher than that. Like even just shoot 1 under. I mean, I guess the putting is coming around, but he's never really played particularly well at this tournament in the past. It's not like he comes in riding the greatest form. You could even go with Spieth, 68.5 strokes higher. Like he does okay at the John Deere, and people are like, oh, watch out for that Jordan Spieth. He's got it.
I don't know if he got 4 rounds in him, but that's the thing. This is tricky because it's 1 round. But just looking at it here, like obviously Spieth.
Maybe it's the bogeys or worse. Maybe we could play lower on some players for birdies or better, and then higher on other players for bogeys or worse.
Yeah. Do you like Connors on this course?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. Like someone to be a steady hand. I wouldn't expect him to shoot like a 7 under, but I would guess that he's probably right around even.
Yeah, I kind of liked higher on him. That was one I was thinking of.
Well, do you want to play bogeys or worse higher on him too? So if he gets 3 bogeys, then all of a sudden...
Yeah, I'd always rather that because like I always say is you can still have those and he can still have birdies and it doesn't really matter. He can hit 68, he can hit 60, but he could still have those bogeys or worse. So I'd rather play that. Let's play higher on that one.
Okay, so we'll go higher, 2 bogeys or worse for Corey Connors. And, his putter could always just fail him.
Easily.
And then all of a sudden we're doing pretty well on that front. Let's try to find someone to do birdies or better, and we'll go lower. Who's someone who you think can score on this course? What's Rye at? Rye's at 3.5. Can he make 4 birdies in the opening round?
Probably. Just we're not talking about Sunday. We're talking about Thursday.
We're talking about Thursday. Mr. Thursday himself.
So, yeah, I don't mind that, but it's juiced up for the lower. So the higher we add that in, then we find something else to finish us out, I think.
I mean, we don't even need to do that because where we played a higher on bogeys and then a higher on birdies, it kind of makes up for a little bit.
You're almost at
below.
3-1. Yeah, you're close.
So let's do that one. We'll just try to make it easy. This is one we can try to get out on a winning note here. Maybe they'll add the fairways and greens a little bit later on in the day, but as of Wednesday morning, that's not going to be the case. So we'll go 2 bogeys or worse for Corey Connors, 3.5 birdies or better at 0.9x for Aaron Rye. 100 pays 291. And we're off to the races.
Get a winner in there.
Well, let's just try to get a winner.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, the 2 plays are usually better, although I know that the 3 and 5 plays on Underdog are more plus EV. I just want to get a winner in the bag here.
All right.
Try to build that bankroll for the Open Championship. What I'm not doing is building my bankroll for my betting card because I just made too many just awful bets.
Yes, Aaron Rye would be the headline of that.
Well, we'll save Aaron Rye for a second. So for the Scottish Open, I got Fleetwood at 25, Hideki at 50, which I woke up on Wednesday morning and there was a Hideki 50 dangling in front of me. It's back down to 40 or 35 now, but I think people saw that number and were like, okay, yeah, I'll take that one. Min Woo is like 30. Like I get that Min Woo is like pretty good, but he's not Hideki. At 20 points less.
Hopefully those Rye bettors could cash out. Hideki at 50 or Rye at 45 now.
I bet Rye at 55. I bet Hoagie at 90 with 8 places. And I took 4 bombs, all Lynx specialists at triple digits. I got Nikolai Højgaard. I know a lot of people are on Rasmus. I like Nikolai better. I have him with 5 places at 100-1. Ditto for Ryan Fox. 100-1 with 5 places. Jordan L. Smith. 125-1 with 8 places, and Wacky Valimaki, 225-1 with 10 places. All guys that primarily play their best golf on Lynx Golf, and all have pretty good form coming in. They just need to, maybe the change of scenery is pretty good. But you wanted to yell at me about Aaron Rye. I'm of one of 2 minds on this. If I don't bet Aaron Rye, he's going to win. Now that I bet him, he's going to miss the cut by 10 strokes. But for everyone who says that he cannot win, he has won at this course in the past. And I just did this entire spiel. What you're going to tell me is exactly what I told Jeff about Davis Thompson last week.
Yeah, it's possible. I just think it's a little bit different. Like that would be a field that I would see Davis Thompson closing out if he goes in a run. We saw guys like Michael Kim in the past to be able just to turn it on and tear it up, and that's exactly what Davis Thompson did. My take on Rye was just simple. People said, he's my first click of the week, and then said I had to give you shit for it as well. So I'm going to stand by that for the people. Man of the people is it's not even close. The only thing you really have to say is his recent form where he couldn't close out Rocket Mortgage or John Deere. Also, I'll give him credit. Those are birdie fest still. These guys do go low. It gets crazy. Look at Ben Griffin on Sunday. Maybe even if Rye had done something, it wouldn't have been to be, with Davis Thompson and Griffin, guys like that going off. But the other thing is just, the field strength. I take that into play. I've talked about it on shows with you, many others, my own shows, things like that for years, is when he won this thing in 2020. First of all, that's 4 years ago. Second of all, there's no Rory. There's no X. There's no Hovland. There's no Ludwig. There's none of these guys there that he has to go up against now. And I also think the conditions are more favorable in the other way. I know people say, oh, he wears 2 gloves and it's wet and cold. Like that means that's just a narrative. Like it's just a joke at this point. So
See, I disagree. I think that wet and cold does favor the British players and any European player. Just they're more. It's not that they're going to be better in those conditions. I just think they'll acclimate themselves quicker to those conditions because they just have more experience with it.
At this point, that's what I'm saying with this strength of field. A lot of these guys have been around. That's why they're in this field and have played in these conditions. So,
but not predominantly.
Definitely not predominantly, but like Aaron Rye's been chilling over on the PGA Tour for a while now. We've been playing this loser for weeks, months, years. It's like, I don't care. I think he's I think your whole card is great DraftKings plays. It's guys that I love. I think they're all going to be in play. You can mix it up. There's enough of a pool this week that even a guy like Aaron Rye, if he does get popular, plenty of ways to get different. His T19, that was another point, could really get you there still. It's tough clicks for me at like 45 and 55 to 1 to bet outright. But the other thing I was going to say about Aaron Rye was just the T19 thing. In these strength of fields, he needs to improve 18 spots. So I hope all those people got the each ways if they could with their bet, but he's got to improve 18 spots from his best sort of strength of field anywhere near this type to get there. And it was the U.S. Open. So your point was he got better. He did. He still has to get 18 spots better.
And I do think he's on a career best run right now, and it's going to peak at some point. Then he's going to go back the other way. And even his tee to green at the John Deere last week wasn't all that good. He just actually made some putts for the first time. Of course, when he makes putts, his tee to green doesn't come along with it.
Yeah, I've been a hashtag Rye guy for quite some time in DFS, playing him. People make fun of me for it. I used to reference that 2020 Scottish Open and be like, but he's come through in a big tournament in the past, like that overseas. Want to see it translate. I think the big topic of this week is people saying if he doesn't win this week, it's not going to happen. I actually think it was the Rocket Mortgage. I was there live. He had it, man. Like he had an opportunity there that was like no other that I've seen for him. And last week, sure, he was in the mix still, and it's good things, positives, but just the rant was not a fan of the bet. 40 to 55 to 1.
I have a fear of missing out with this one. Mm-hmm. Just things are lining up for him. Like if you just took his name out of it and looked at his recent results and the way that he has been trending, that you'd say like, yeah, this guy's like due for a win sometime soon. Like he's peaking towards a win. It's Aaron Rye, so it's like,
Can I say one more just funny thing?
Sure.
When he doesn't win this week, but he does okay.
Play him next week.
No, nobody will bet him.
Yeah, but bet him next week.
At the Open. And I know it gets even stronger of a field and it's a major and I get all these other factors, but it's actually hilarious. It would be hilarious to me if he does like his T19, T29 thing this week. Everybody that bet him at 40 to 1 got to have him thinks he's done now. And then he goes on to crush the Open. That would be hilarious to me. Very unlikely, but funny.
I've already recorded the research show for the Open. So once again, you can get that secret link in the newsletter this evening. Do you know who the numbers really liked? And I might bet, and it's really sad.
Who is it?
Finau.
So I think you made reference to this somewhere. Maybe it was in the early newsletter or a different show, but it was like, why is he not here this week? Right? This is the other thing. But who knows? He must be getting ready for the Open. He wants to win a major.
Yeah, so he debuted at Troon in 2016, played pretty well. And I looked at the crossover leaderboard. It was a lot pretty similar to Portrush, although it's tough to really navigate because the weather was so awful at Troon last time that it really separated the good weather from the bad weather players and what the tee times they drew were, and that really resulted in the end leaderboard. But I don't know, just Finau's playing good golf right now.
Yeah.
But the problem is he's 35 to 1 in the markets right now. I got to wait till Monday till they reset. And him not playing this week is actually helpful in that.
Yeah, you want to get him probably 50 or more.
Yeah, he'll be 60.
I don't know what the futures are that people had on him. I know people had him on futures, and it was more than that. But correct me if I'm wrong. I always live week to week on this stuff. No doubt remember the Stenson Mickelson stuff and everything that. But was that also the year that the wave was just insanely crazy to one way? Billy Horschel hat backwards, everything going on there where it was just that – I think it was PMA or AM. One of the waves crushed.
Yes.
So and then it turned out those two came out of that wave. You needed those exact two.
And it wasn't even a wave. It was the only time a microwave.
Oh, that's what it was. A microwave.
A microwave. It was the only time that I think it was everyone who came out within an hour of each other on Thursday just ended up falling ass backwards into. They didn't get good conditions. Phil and Stenson clearly played way better than everybody else.
On top of it, yeah.
They beat JB Holmes came in third at -7. And they were -20 and -16. But all of those guys, I think it was 10 of the top 12, 11 of the top 12, were all within an hour of each other.
That was special. Even though it was down to a two-man show, that still was a really good major. So that's all I remember. I just couldn't remember if that was the one or if it was a different one with the backwards hat Billy.
No, a backwards hat Billy, I believe, was at Chambers Bay.
It was definitely also at
An
open where he was getting soaked and wet and everything like that. So I remember it. But yeah, that's what I was making sure of. But yeah, I'm excited for next week. I think it's gonna be a good one.
The only thing that really ever sticks out to me about the Open in terms of like gear and things like that, like, yeah, you get the beanies or toques with players out there, but it's just Ricky's rain gear looks like fucking MC Hammer pants.
Yeah, and I think it was at an open too where he had, remember the oven gloves?
Yeah.
Like the mitts?
No, that was Seb Straka at the Masters.
Oh, yeah, that too. So there is a picture out there of Ricky. I can't remember what tournament it's from where he had them on. People were making all the jokes because it's Ricky, and then you add in a prop like that, even though it wasn't a prop. It was real.
Well, it's funny because I had to do that earlier on in our golf season. I had like my snow shoveling gloves that I would wear in between shots because it was 4 degrees Celsius at the beginning of the year when I was playing.
Golf is life, man. You got to get out there.
You got to get those reps in. You got to get so when it gets nice out, you're actually playing some good golf. So I got 8 guys on the card, which is ridiculous for the Scottish. But again, link specialists as the bombs, and I only played 1 guy below 50-1. So it did work, like allocate my money out properly. Worked out well that way. For Liv, I got David Puig, or Puig. I believe it's Puig, which is just insane. I thought it was like a joke when someone said that, but apparently that's how you pronounce his last name.
Yeah, it's pronunciations are a thing, man. You got to get them right.
I mean, not necessarily on this show.
That's true.
So I have him at 38-1. I bet John Catlin, like the rest of the world, at 80-1 with 3 places.
Saw that guy.
And then the ISIS Challenge in Kentucky, or the ISCO, the ISCO. I got Damon. All my guys just like crashed in the market. I got Damon at 55, Hardy at 65, Rico Hui at 75, who's like 30-1 now, which is nuts. Pearson Cootie, you have to stay on the train, at 90-1. And I picked Kevin Doherty at 100-1 with 5 places. He is the number 1 player in that field in strokes gained off the tee, both short-term and long-term. And we've seen, whether it be Trey Mullinix 2 years ago or Vince Norman last year, just guys who absolutely mash the ball off the tee have such an advantage at this course.
And that's why all those fun cards that you just announced and everyone else have are going to come crashing down when Chan Kim goes in at 25-1 and somehow gets the job done.
The problem is Chan Kim can't putt.
Yeah, until he can.
Until he can. One and done for a 3-man. Jeff is out to a $2.5 million lead after having Davis Thompson last week. I have Fleetwood. He has Aaron Rye. And Cust has Brian Harman, who no one's really talking about, who I kind of like this week.
Harman?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine. I got no problem with it. I think that's a good one. I think, Rye, I don't know how popular he'll be in the one and done, but people haven't used him, so he has to be popular.
And it's not like, I think people think this is a signature event. It's not. So it's not like it's the most gigantic prize pool in the world here. Like, you can use whoever really you want to. You're probably running out of players to play. Like, Harman is the highest ranked player I have left to use in my team that's still in the money inside the top 600. But I have the choice between like Harman, Homa, Thigala, Tom Kim, who I would guess is going to be pretty popular.
Definitely.
Fitz, Pavon, Straka. I might use Fitz.
I liked, actually, Fitz was in the bucket. I liked Hideki, who you mentioned earlier with the bet.
I've already used him.
A lot of people have used him. I liked Hovland. I think I like him in DFS this week, too, just a little outside of the box there where most people will be on Kim or Fleetwood or something like that. And then I like your Fitz call. That was another one. For whatever reason, he also showed up both of those years I talked about earlier on top of other years. Like, he just showed up in all of them. So maybe it's just something about that, and he would fit the bill for everything you talked about as well.
He was the one who lost to Minwoo, wasn't he?
I think he lost in that playoff. Was it a playoff?
No, it wasn't a play. I don't think it was a playoff. Maybe it was a playoff. Because I know that Fleetwood lost in the playoff to Rye that year. And then Fitz came second the year after that.
Yeah.
And my other team that's way out of it, I need to go off the board here and try to catch up. And
Yeah, it was Minwoo, Dietrich, Fitzpatrick.
I'm going to take Ludwig as my secondary team to try to get back into the money. I just don't think people are going to use him. They're either going to save him for next week, or he's only 30% available to use anyway. It's not like people are lining up to bet Ludwig this week. They see his number. They're like, yeah, he's properly priced. I don't want to bet him.
I like that. Did you bet Ryan Fox, by the way?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, I thought you said him. I kind of like that because that was interesting going back. It was Minwoo, Dietrich, Fitzpatrick in the playoff, and Lucas Herbert, your boy, was right there in the mix. Wade Ormsby was in the mix.
Oh, the ace of Wades.
A bunch of these Australians, man, that were getting into the mix, and then Ryan Fox wasn't too far behind them. So
now Fox has shown out on links courses in the past. Like even on the Open show, I don't want to spoil it too much, but I went back and looked at the Alfred Dunhill links, which is a 3-course rotation in Scotland. Like Hatton shows out at that tournament. Victor Perez has been good there. Fleetwood's been awesome. Louis has been awesome at that. Like I really like Louis next week. I really hope he doesn't win on Live this week because A, I didn't bet him, and B, it will just crush his number.
How can he win with Taylor Gooch in the mix?
That's true. I mean, maybe David Pooj, or if John Catlin wins, we're all millionaires, so that's good
Yeah,
news.
that's true. That's why he's probably not winning, but yes.
Hey, if he comes second, I still get paid pretty well.
You're good. You're good.
Let's move to DraftKings then and try to figure it out. As we mentioned before, we have, it's a minor split. We'll try to make some PM, AM teams because, as you said, a lot of the chalk is going out in the morning. If we get it wrong, we get it wrong. But if we get it right, you really do stand to capitalize.
That's what I was thinking anyway, but...
So let's build out a PM player pool to begin before we get into lineups and just try to talk.
Do you have the tee times there?
I do. I mean, on Fantasy National, it's all listed.
I have...
next to the player's name, like Ludwig Morikawa are two of the PM guys, and so is Hideki. I don't like Morikawa this week.
I'm fine with him, and especially if he's
like,
not
I
going to
gotta
get the ownership. That's another thing.
I got to pick some people to fade from the top, and I think that he is not an easy first choice. It's just, well, he doesn't like Scottish turf. British turf, England turf, not a problem. Scottish turf, kind of a problem. He's played 2 tournaments in Scotland in his career. He's missed the cut both times.
Yeah, he's what do they say? You can't figure it out till he can. He's the guy. Remember, he couldn't figure it out, and then he won the Open.
Then he won, but that was in England.
That was not in Scotland. I understand. I'm saying, but he's playing really good golf, and we'll see what happens. But I think at least in some of those PMAM splits, you can go with Ludwig and Morikawa.
I was going to say,
fit them both.
I think I like Ludwig Hideki
That works
as
too.
the start for me.
Yeah.
And then everyone else above Hideki. So basically from Minwoo, $9,200 up to Rory, everyone's in the AM except for Ludwig, Colin, and Hideki.
Man, I already want to just start because it's so funny. The guys that we talked about, you like Ludwig. We talked about Hideki and Fitzpatrick. They all fit it to start, and you still have $7K left over.
All right, let's do that as our
Yeah,
start.
we can do the chalk one after. That's just a good start. Who are some of the guys you said down at the bottom that you were interested in? Like Nikolai is 6,800. He fits that. You liked him over Rasmus, you said.
I do. So Nikolai is there, and Rasmus is playing in the morning, so that works out well. Hoagie is 71. He's in the afternoon, and so is Ryan Fox. Does that fit?
Yes, it does. There we go.
There's our team.
Man, what if we found the winner right off the top? Even leaves $100. Just perfect.
Hoagie, Hollywood Hoagie, Ryan Fox, and Nikolai Hojgaard. There we go.
That's a solid build.
I mean, that's not a bad team.
Looks good to me. And you're leaving off so much. I know, like, oh, someone will say, oh, but this guy, I heard them mention this.
Well, you can only play 6 guys. So.
Yeah, when you play 6 guys, there's tons that you're not playing. And with no Rory, no X, no Fleetwood, no Tom Kim, none of these Rye, M, 8K lineups, this is already going to be solid. So that's funny. Just taking the picks we talked about leading up to the show and starting with that, it kind of worked out.
So who are some other guys from this PM wave that you would consider? I like Ben Griffin as a PM guy. I also bet Ben Griffin is first-round leader. It's my only first-round leader bet.
Yeah, I'm going to continuously like to play Sungjae, especially when he's playing good right now.
Yep.
I actually don't mind. I like your Harmon call. One thing that's interesting here is I think like Sungjae, Rye, I know he's not afternoon, but Sungjae, Rye, and even a little bit of Wyndham Clark love out there. And I kind of like the guys. I like Justin Thomas, Harmon, and Im. Those are the 3 that I like there. I think Rye's still a great play on DraftKings. He's less than the average. Tons of ways to get different with him, tons of ways to fit him in. But if the rest of your build becomes too popular with him, that's when you're not really playing it that much differently. So, it's not who you play, it's how you play him. But if you're playing him the same way as everybody else, you're not really following by that. So I think that's the one thing I'll say.
So for the PMs, I got Ludwig, excluding Colin, Hideki, Fitz, Harmon, and Sungjae from the PM.
The thing is, if you think like Decky can win this, and then maybe Ludwig doesn't need to come along for the ride, maybe it's just like a 20th place or an 18th place, and now you can upgrade quite a bit because you can swap. Like if you you like Hoagie and Fox, what does Hogard and Oberg get to go to? If you do that, to me, it looks like it goes to
Harmon and
JT and Harmon. Like, see what I mean? Like,
JT's AM, I believe.
I don't think so.
Is that not the case? Let's see here.
Double
Justin Thomas. Oh, yeah, he is PM.
So to me, like, it's just not that I like it better, I'm saying, but I think that's an interesting move where you're kind of taking out Ludwig, but if he doesn't come through, it's like you're also getting to take out Hogard and you plug in Harmon and JT with Matsuyama, Fitz, and still Hoagie and Fox, who you like. I just think that's another way, and it projects the exact same.
Am I crazy to like Sungjae more than I like Thomas?
Probably not, but I think you'll get a much bigger ownership discount going to...
Sure, but I think I'm getting a pretty big ownership discount anyway if I build my lineup this way.
Yeah, 998,877. Like, you're not even using any guys up above. Yeah, you can do that and just leave the money as well.
All right, we'll try that one out, see how that one goes, and I'll probably just try to generate some lineups from the bottom. So other guys that are in the PM mix, Sahith.
Yeah, I was just looking at him.
Spieth. Straka,
What are you doing? Okay, stop at Spieth for a second. What are you doing there?
not playing him.
Yeah.
Although listen, you can
I'm playing him.
you can try to manufacture a case with Spieth where getting back to this style of course is actually better for him because he continues to drive the ball excellently. He's actually showed out with his irons 2 of the past 3 weeks. And then you get him at a course that actually requires some creativity, although this might just be like the reason that I bet Hoagie is if this turns into a birdie fest. That just hit the fairway and just take dead aim with your irons. Like
right.
He led the Travelers by 3.5 strokes in approach. He was number 1, clear of the field of everyone. Like he has that sort of gear in him. So you might maybe look at like Pebble Beach, where he's won, where Spieth is won, where you get some wedges in these guys' hands and they can just make the 5-foot putts. They're good to go. So I see the case for him. I just don't know if I'm going to get there. Straka is PM. I'm going to play Ben An.
I like Straka more than Ann. And
I like An more than Straka.
And I like Siwoo as well.
And I'll play Siwoo.
Mitchell probably
Nope.
gets a little bit of
Not
love.
not doing that.
I'm saying, yeah, I think he'll get a little bit of love by the end of today.
Dietrich, I would assume, is going to be popular.
I think so.
McKibben, do you think he's going to be popular?
He'll get enough love, I think, that it's, separation there that you can go to somebody else.
All right, so let's continue to go down. Harris English, Ewan Ferguson. Is Ferguson the one who's coming off the win? He is, right?
Yes, yep.
And he's Scottish. So maybe I'll play.
You like Ben Griffin there, you said?
Yeah, I like Ben Griffin.
Burned? Feel the burned?
Nah, I'm going to pass on Byrne. Hadwin.
Hubbard makes every cut. Even when he's not going to make it, he still somehow makes it.
Are you believing anything in Rose? People are really the narrative behind Rose is really picking up here. Mainly for the Open, but
I think it was that because he queued for it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess below that, I'm just going to play Victor Perez at 63.
As a guy that qualifies for a lot of things on DraftKings and then gets to the major and doesn't do much, it's like just because you queue doesn't mean you're going to do anything in the major. So Justin Rose, not for me. I kind of like the Victor Perez call just underneath him there that you mentioned. What about Cam Davis? That's the guy I was thinking of because what we talked about earlier, a lot of these Australians show up over here for whatever reason. He could kind of fit the bill at 6,200 versus I don't know if I want to continue to play Sam Stevens, who I loved at 7,200. The Rocket Mortgage didn't love so much at 9K last week. Doug Gim, like maybe he could fit it if we're playing that scoring model.
Feel like Gim Reaper had a really good run here 2 years ago. That might just be in my mind, but
I had it up and then I deleted it when we were looking up tee time.
let's see. Scottish. Yeah, he was 16th here 2 years ago. Missed the cut a year ago. He's not playing great golf right now. Although he did finally show back up with his irons at John Deere. The chipping and putting has been horrendous.
What about Thorbjorn Olsen?
Olesen? I kind of like him better next week, weirdly. Like, next week is more of an actual Lynx-style course. The Renaissance Club's like kind of a hybrid.
And what last one that I wanted to ask you about your boy, because you can get an accent on this one. 5,800. You see him?
Oh, Thirsty Lawrence?
No, oh, your boy is there, but he's an AM guy. We were looking at PMs. Romaine Lettuce.
Oh, yeah, Langaskew.
Yeah.
No, I'll take a pass on that. What about Olympian, Eust Luton? King of the Jerry Curl.
I think I'll take Romaine, man. He's playing a little bit better golf
You
right
get the
now.
lettuce, you get some Jerry Curl on the go, fit whoever you want.
Yeah, Wacky Valimaki, by the way, afternoon.
Yeah.
If you like that, 5,700.
5,700.
What does he do for us? You mentioned him earlier. You like him.
I just like him so Hoagie is kind of a bet if this plays easier. I think the more difficult it plays, it's better for Valimaki.
So I'm going to take out Hoagie and put him.
But
Keep Fox.
I was actually tracking him last week because he had been on my radar for a little bit. The Finnish Flash, big man out there. But he ended up coming 12th a week ago, played really well with his irons, putted very well. He's been putting pretty well over the course of the last 6 weeks or so. And he just kind of randomly pops up every now and then. And I do like him back on this style of course, fescue type courses where you got to play the shots a bit lower and you really have to think about it.
I got a lineup for you that you'll like then.
All right, hit me.
I swapped it out. This is a good one, actually, I think. Goes back up to Ludwig's start with Matsuyama Fitzpatrick.
Okay.
Then you can get Sung Jae Im in there, who you seemingly liked better than the other guys.
I mean, I think I liked Herman better. But
Okay. Let me tell you, this is amazing news then. You can actually get Herman because we had $100 left over.
Okay.
And then it lands you on
Nikolai?
Hogard, because you said if you're going to take out those guys, if it's playing a little bit tougher, and then Valimaki. Bang, look at that puppy.
Instant winner.
That's a nice one, though, for everything we just discussed and talked about, and guys that are able to grind it out or score. I think you got it right there.
All right, so I'll make I put 14 players in that player pool, the Valimaki being the final one, and I'll go generate 15 lineups with that, see how it goes.
I like it. All right. That's our PMAM. Now let's try and figure out the chalk. What are people actually going to do here? Because I know from looking at it a little bit, and then even at the start of the week, it seems the same. You can definitely fit Xander, no problem. Maybe people want Rory instead, but I feel like it's Xander.
Where do you think the people go between those two? If they had
It
to-
honestly feels like Xander and then maybe Sungjae Rai. I feel like people are dropping down because then you have 7,200 left and there's just a ton of options down there that you can play. So it feels like if people are paying up, they're paying up and then dropping into that 8K range to pick up a couple guys in there, and they're just fine with skipping over the majority of the 9K. Obviously, some people will start this lineup and maybe put a guy like Tom Kim in there, and you get really dropped at that point. But then you could drop one of Sungjae out or Rai, and I think it's Im that gets dropped out in that point.
So I'm seeing Rory, Xander, Ludwig, all probably right around 20. One of those guys will go up a little bit. One of those guys will go down a little bit, depending on how everything goes. Tommy might be right around there, depending on how the builds go, because I can see a lot of Tom Kim lineups that start.
And Minwoo too is in the mix.
And
there.
Minwoo would be in that mix as well. So then you get Decky at ownership, obviously. Victor, Colin, and those three are just a little bit unlike the tier down in terms of ownership. You're not getting single digits on these guys.
Right.
But they're going to be lower than the guys that I just mentioned. Then I see Rai is popping a ton. Ben Ann is popping a ton. And then when we get down to that bottom, it's kind of like a leveling out of all of similar type guys. Keith Mitchell, Dietrich, Hoagie, Fox, McKibben.
Yeah, and should note too, everyone's favorite projections value play did WD overnight. If you didn't catch it yet, or if you're watching this for the first time, Sebastian Soderberg was a guy people were watching. If you looked at his OWGR, I think he's like 90th in the world. People were looking at his recent rankings. We talked about it in Discords. I saw it. I know other data sites out there were posting him up, and he WD'd. So we don't have just that slam dunk $6,400 value play to make that all work for what you just talked about. So who are the guys in sort of the 7K range? Or is there another guy in the 6s that you actually think will get love? I don't see it personally, so I think we have to find the guys in the 7s that you think people are going to go to.
I think that Jordan Smith gets love, especially now with Soderberg out.
That's true, yes.
I think that's the name that people will gravitate towards. And Ben Griffin potentially too. Ben Griffin's playing good golf and he has a good result here. Like that's usually good enough for like if you have to talk yourself into someone in the 6Ks.
That's what I'm trying to look at here. Yeah, he definitely fits the bill. I wonder if it's like Bez and, Tom Hoagie, Mitchell, Noren, Straka, like that range.
Yeah,
And then-
I do think that's where most of it is going because everyone I've seen has bet Fox this week. So I think that people are going to play Fox. So you get Fox. We mentioned McKibben earlier, and that gives you 74. That gets you up to like Noren, Denny, Adam Scott, Keith Mitchell.
People always end up going to Noren, I feel like. So
Yeah, Noren's playing pretty bad lately.
So that's one then. This does project off the page, so it would make sense to me. But if you run what you were talking about, it's McKibben, Fox, Noren.
That's what I have in right now.
You're able to get Rai, Im, and Xander.
Yeah, that's
and then
that's the lineup that
then
I
you
have.
can play around with it. But that outdid ours by like 20 points. So that's because of Xander, because of Rai, because of some of these guys that are getting projected very well, but also that's coming with big ownership. So just note that as well.
So let's take Jordan Smith for a second at 6,600. What does that do for us?
Instead of McKibben?
Yeah, that can get us back to 78, which is Bobby Mack. So you get Bobby Mack, Fox, and Jordan Smith. And you could probably change Fox out to Hoagie if you wanted to.
I think it's more like Ryan Fox goes to Bez.
And it keeps Noren?
That's what I'm seeing right now. And honestly, people may not keep Noren. There is a lot of love for Keith Mitchell. So
I just don't see how that turns out well.
7,300, but that's what I'm, more so seeing. And this did project better again because Bez. And then if I go to Keith Mitchell, it actually projects less. So I think the Noren one, you had it. I think that's what it is.
So it's Noren, Bez with Jordan Smith?
Or Ben Griffin.
Or Ben Griffin.
If people decide on him instead, it's kind of like the Ryder Cup, Pat. It's going to be the Americans versus the Euros, right? People have to decide.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about that on the opening part of the British Open narrative show that we're going to be doing as a first look. But just very quickly, I think people are way too in their feelings about Ryder Cup captains.
They are. I could go off on this. And I never get a platform to do so I may just say a few words about it. I know friends of the show are very involved in taking this to heart.
Jeff is having a meltdown.
Absolutely, he is. But that's Jeff, and we love him, so it's funny. But I will say, some of the other friends of the show too. I have no problem with anybody, but are we really lobbying for Davis Love or Matt Kuchar? It actually reminds me. I don't want to go off on politics because I don't, but are these really the only two old man candidates we have? We should get a young gun in here to take over the country and run this thing. Why is it so bad that the guy that's 38 is running it versus 48-year-old Zach Johnson? They're basically the same dude. One extra major or whatever for Zach. Like, honestly, this guy literally loves this shit, has a backpack at home with the clothes and shit still in it from his last loss that he took. He says he didn't know. Maybe it is because of Netflix. If that's what's bothering you, I get that angle. But is he really that bad to run the show? He's not going to take politics into consideration. He's going to let his feelings be known. It's Keegan in the Northeast. Shout out Paul. It's going to be a good time, and I don't see anything wrong with it whatsoever. I love passionate people doing passionate things and things they're passionate about. That's what's going to happen with Keegan Bradley, and they're going to win either way, probably, in my opinion.
Additionally, do Ryder Cup captains really matter?
Probably not.
Like you're either average or bad. There's no good Ryder Cup captains.
Exactly. I was just going to say there's bad ones.
There's
You
bad
said it,
ones.
There's average or bad, and there's been bad decisions made in the past. I just think it's a lot of fun. It is an event we love. If he got it because of Netflix, which it kind of sounds like he did, so be it. But he's super thrilled about it. The guy's literally already staying up and thinking about it. He said stuff like true thoughts that others are having. Like what? So he's just going to put himself on the team? No. Unless he makes the team.
No, that would be the best part. What you really want to get people angry, we get to it. He's like, yeah, I'll pick me.
That would be bad. But someone brought it back from.
I mean, if he's within the top 12 in points, like it would suck for him if he came like 8th in points, and then he's like, I can't pick myself. And when he probably deserved to be on the team.
That's fine.
If that happens.
But I think that's why he's setting himself up. Again, talk about a guy taking it seriously from the start, saying, here's the deal. I'm only going to be on the team if I make the team. No, he's basically saying, sounds to me like no pick. So yeah, we went off on a tangent, but we had to quick. It's golf. It's Twitter. It's X, whatever you want to call it. That's what it's for. So that stuff's great. The Rory stuff coming out this morning. He finally did a presser and, said stuff there. There's lots of things you could talk about around that, but we're talking about the Scottish Open. We'll get back on track. I just think it is funny, but the Feinberg meltdown is my favorite, and that's why we love Jeff.
Fleetwood, Minwoo.
Are you switching up the lineup now?
Yeah. I'm just trying to think of like what are the unconventional yet people be like, oh, no one's going to use this one, and then it turns out that everyone uses the same.
Well, let me ask you this. This was brought up last week, and now I'm forgetting who it was exactly. I think it was like Denny, Mav, and there was another 9K guy, and I said
it was Davis Thompson.
I said everyone's choosing between these three, and in the end, you may need 2 or 3 of these guys. You did not need Mav, if you didn't watch, spoiler alert, but you did need Denny and Davis Thompson. So it turned out to be that it wasn't about picking your favorite, it was getting them both. In this case, that's what I'm wondering with this range. We could do just 2 of them, but I just can't see a world where, when you talked about it already with Rory, X, Ludwig, people still like Morikawa for what he's been doing lately and coming in on.
As they should.
For sure.
Like mine is just all feel. I got to fade someone. He's who I'm picking to fade.
And you're good at that. That's what you know from these golfers. Like you talked about with Mitchell, that just can't end well. Morikawa, you have your reasons. But I'm saying, like, I don't know. If you pick 2 of these guys to start a lineup, is it double Tom squared?
Well, I have all 3 of them.
Tom.
I have them all. Yeah, Tom. You get the Vanderpump bump here.
The Vanderpump bump. Let's go.
And yeah, you got 3 of them. You put all 3 of them in, and then you're back in that range that we talked about before with the low 7s.
If you put all those 3, that does make it a little bit interesting, and I think that's where people would start it. If you only put 2, who would it be for you?
Fleetwood and Tom Kim.
I think so too. I think the Tom Vanderpump bump is a real thing.
But
and
for me, I would play Tommy and Hideki.
Yeah, which is what you actually are going to do.
Yes.
But when we're talking about like what people would do if they are going to move off the top, I think it's kind of what you just said. I think they're going to be actually happier with Tom than they are. I think Minwoo would get cut from that bunch.
So do you want to build this out with the 3-pack or just Tom and Tom?
Let's build the 3-pack first.
Okay, so it brings
see what the improvement gives us.
It's exactly what we just built.
Okay, what is it?
We got to pick 3 guys with $7,100 left.
Fox, Hoagie, and we can get to Dietrich.
Yeah, Fox, Hoagie, Dietrich. Boom. Like, I actually think people are going to play this lineup.
They are.
Like, that's a very easy way to fill out a lineup with $0 remaining.
So the way to get different would be to drop
I'm going to play it right now.
Tommy Fleetwood or Minwoo. If you start a lineup with Tom Kim this week, that's a true definition of it's not who you play, it's how you play him. Like Tom Kim will be in there with some Rorys, X's, Ludwigs, Morikawas. Tom Kim will be in there with some Tommies. How many will actually just start straight up at Tom Kim and say, I'll give up all that win equity at the top, hoping that Tom is the guy that comes through. He's popular and one and done, all that, but will he start lineups?
No, I don't think that he will. But
Right.
I changed that 3-pack to Fleetwood, Hideki, and Fitzpatrick.
Okay, so let me look at that one.
And now we have $300 left with our Dietrich, Hoagie, and Ryan Fox.
Do you like Bez?
Not really.
Okay.
I like him enough, but
Oh, what about, I kind of like this one. Take Dietrich up to Siwoo.
Siwoo. Yeah.
I like that lineup, and it actually projects just about as good as our very first one that we did, which was kind of like just under the range, 15 to 20 points, mind you, but who cares?
So you can get this one. Let's take Siwoo and Fox out and use Ben Griffin. And Ben Griffin can also be Jordan Smith if you want to. You can go to Højgaard and try to save some money. He brings you to Spieth if you want it. You don't get quite enough to get back up to like the Rye range.
I'm going to stick with this Jordan Smith play.
Because I can go Nikolai Højgaard and Bobby Mack. So Fleetwood, Matsuyama, Fitz, Højgaard, Bobby Mack, and Tom Hoagie. I think this is my favorite lineup that we've built so far.
It makes sense. My least favorite. But I get it. And it's a lot of the same guys you talked about. I also think that there's just a chance Rasmus ends up doing it. We'll see.
I mean, Nikolai's the better player. Rasmus is playing better. Granted, that is absolutely true.
Yeah.
But he's also playing on DP, not the PGA Tour.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think we're on the same page there. I just think it's funny that more would play Nikolai because of that. And I think Rasmus...
I think Rasmus has higher ownership than Nikolai.
We'll see when it's all said and done.
I've just been seeing people prop up Rasmus Højgaard all week.
Yeah, maybe. Or you can play them both. People will play both of them just because. That's a spot where people won't choose
Right, so
between them, and they will just play them both.
You can play both Højgaards, you play both Fitzpatricks, then build the rest of your lineup with Rory and Xander.
No, we got to get Højgaard. Okay, Tom in there to start. Who does that leave you? Fitzpatrick. Oh, you can upgrade Alex Fitzpatrick to Spieth if you do that lineup.
Well, let's start with Tom Kim. You want to do that, right?
Yeah, I just want to see with everything we've been talking about, and if we just start there.
It gives you 8,100. So you kind of have the pick of the litter here. Like, who's the lowest we want to use here? Ben An at 76? You like Straka, right?
Oh, there you go. That's the lineup then.
What?
Oh, I can't quite get it in there. It's Straka Siwoo. If you go Tom Kim and get 3 8K guys where most have 2, you would have Harman, Im, Rye. Close it out with Straka and Siwoo. Projects really well. Definitely different. It has to be. It doesn't have more than 2 7K guys, which most have 3 or more. It only has it has more than 2 8K guys. Most have 1 or 2, and it doesn't have anybody from the top. So I mean, just from a roster construction perspective, this has to be different.
And from a Ben Raza skill stack perspective, this is about the most accurate driving lineup you can find. And just hope that that's a thing this week.
Yeah.
Oh, this lineup probably plays much better next week.
Let me just see too. Does Tom Kim play? Oh, he plays in the morning. So because Harman,
Rye plays in the morning too.
Does Im? No, Im doesn't. So it's a mix. This is a mix. So that's what I was checking. If you could just flip it to like a PMAM, but I don't see it.
All right. I like that one.
What if is Straka and Siwoo in the afternoon by chance?
Straka?
Straka and Siwoo are in the afternoon. Oh, Tom Kim. Okay, let me go Tom Kim to Decky. I'm just going to do something quick. Sometimes I do this. I'll flip it.
Okay.
And then Harman is in the afternoon. If I change Im and Rye to JT and Spieth, you've got Decky, Harman, Decky, JT, Harman, Spieth, Straka, Kim. Projects almost the same, but now you've got a wave stack.
And you put Tom Kim as Hideki?
Yes, just to get off. I mean, you could still fit Tom, but if you wanted to move away from
to go full
the tee
PM.
time and just flip it to a tee time stack. Also,
And it has $100 left over?
$100 left over. Yep.
Okay.
Was there anybody if you wanted to upgrade anybody, if you could look at it, but Wyndham's in the morning, can't do it with Spieth. You can turn, no, can't do it with JT, can't do it with Decky. Siwoo can become An or Straka, but we already have Straka, so you'd have to change him to An.
I'm good with that. I like Ben An more than I like Siwoo this week.
And there you go. Still fits the bill.
Yeah, 76 to 94.
But these are just fun ways to do it. Again, like we always have, like, again, we're not just saying play these lineups. We're trying to figure out what the field's doing, how we can attack it, and go up against them, sort of figuring it out that way. I guess the other one to try, though, would be the double stud.
Yeah, Rory Xander.
Go all the way up?
Like, do you think it's Rory Xander, or do you think it's like Xander Fleetwood?
I think it's more likely. We'll see in a second. But I don't think people love, as much as there is a 5K range, just so we didn't really talk about this off the top, but there is a 5K. There is lots of dudes in the 6Ks. There is lots of narratives and storylines in the 5s and 6Ks of these Euro players, and everyone has their spot, and they pick their poison.
Went and looked the last 2 years, not a lot of real random Euros popping up at the top of the leaderboard. Grant Forrest, I think, was the top one last year at T11.
Wade Ormsby in 2021.
But that was before the PGA guys played.
Yeah, so it's different. So I agree with you. you, and that's sort of where my take would be, which what I was going to say leads me to believe that this won't be a popular build, but probably for good reason. It's probably one of Rory and Xander. And if I wanted to do double stud, I actually like it a lot better. And you even went a step further with it, which I don't hate. I like Ludwig better than Morikawa. And then I would like Ludwig Morikawa or Ludwig Decky as the start, because it is a significant difference. You're talking about an almost $12,000 Rory and an almost $12,000 Xander to drop down to a 10-5, 10-3 or a 10-5, 9-4. Like you're really saving the cash. And now you have 7,300 average left over when you go Ludwig Morikawa.
You know what's strange? Like, if I'm going to start with Ludwig as a non-part of, like, a wave stack build, I actually like to pair him with Victor. I think you're getting similar skill sets at the top.
Yep.
And if it breaks, like, hey, if you want the guy who drives it the longest and the straightest, you have basically the two.
Okay, so we have 7,500 left. Now, what are we going to go? Are we going to go Straka and Ann for the same reason?
We could go Straka.
Stick with the Raza plan here. We can go Straka and they drive it long and straight.
It's true.
So now we have 7,300.
Do you have any love for EVR?
I think we should, but I usually don't. He's not harmed me too often, but I think he's a solid pivot play down there at 7K.
Let's try to see. Off the tee, who do we got? Hovland, Minwoo. Gracerman's in this field? Mm-hmm. Jesus. Davis Thompson, Keith Mitchell, Morikawa. EVR is up there.
So let's put him in. And then you'd have to decide on Bez or Siwoo.
I think I like Siwoo better.
Projects pretty well, actually.
It should. It has Ludwig and Victor in it.
And I guess you don't have Rory, you don't have Xander, you don't have Morikawa, you don't have Tom Kim, you don't have Fleetwood, and you also don't have Rye, Im, or anybody in the 8K range at all. So again, this is what people look for in single entry, Pat, where they're like, oh, I feel like they end up going way off the board and they start with like Jordan Smith. And they're like, I need to do that to be different. It's like, not necessarily. Like if you and again, EVR, we have $100 left, can also be
Hoagie.
Your guy Hoagie. If you feel safer with that or whatever you really want. Him,
I think I would play EVR over McKibben this week.
Could be Fox too.
So let's start Rory Fleetwood as the last build that we do. Just because I do think that this is going to be a popular build.
Yeah, don't want to leave it off.
And it gives us 7,000 left. Do you think this is where people dip into the sixes to really get yourself back up? You know who we could use, who we haven't used in any of these lineups yet, who is super cheap, that I said that I liked, was Victor Perez.
Okay, so let's say he's the guy they're comfortable with. We also just lost $6,800 Soderberg, so maybe people do go to $6,300 Perez. That's possible.
Or they just go $100 up to Hubbard, or just play Ricky Fowler.
I think they'll drop down or play like a Griffin for $200 less, like you mentioned, or something. Yeah. But I like going Perez in this, and that gets us right back into that 7-3 range.
Now, do we want to take another cheap to get? Because I don't really love the lower 8s or upper 7s. Like I'm more comfortable in the $7,300 range.
The best is when you didn't say golfer or guy after cheap, and you just called it like it was a thing. Like, do you want to take another cheap?
Another cheap.
Yeah, we'll get another cheap in here. What's another cheap that we can play?
Well, you can go Ben An, Hoagie Dietrich.
Ben An. Yeah.
Rory, Fleetwood, and Hoagie Dietrich with Vic Perez.
And do you like Hoagie or Fox better?
Hoagie.
Okay, that was pretty quick to answer. So, okay. And then what if you take out Ann, Dietrich, and Fox, or Hoagie, and you put Rye in? Like people, if they want that safety and they're using Perez to get them back up to a guy they really like in the 8Ks.
But then you have double 68. So what do people do then? Do they play like McKibben and Jordan Smith?
It's McKibben and Griffin probably is what they would play, right?
Yeah, McKibben or EVR, one of those two. I like EVR better, so I'll play EVR.
I'm going to play EVR Smith.
All right, let's play EVR Smith.
Projects very good again. Because now you have Rory in there.
I think I like the other version of that lineup that we just built with Ben An, Hoagie, and Fox, or Dietrich, sorry.
So do I. I just think also it goes back to my rant a little bit on why Rye and DFS versus betting outright is solid. Like in here, he's your third guy in price-wise. You've already protected yourself with Rory. Fleetwood, what actually happens? We don't know. He could beat them both. I'm saying, but that's my point of at least that feels better. And then there's guys around him like EVR, Smith, Perez, those guys that could all score with him if they all make the cut. So I think that's kind of the setup, but I do like the other build better for sure.
Well, it's time to draft head-to-head. You topped me last week because I had a 5 of 6 and you had a 6 of 6.
Moving the needle now.
Which means you get first pick in this draft.
All right, let me see here. I want to go. Trying to find my best one here that I'm starting off with. I don't know why I have Keith Mitchell in some of these builds that I'm looking at, but I'm going to start with Ludwig.
Shit. That's who I was going to start with. All right.
Which I will say, not to cut you off, but just to make it a note, because we spent a little bit of time on the top, the more I think about it too, the more I think that, and I'll look at it further as the day goes on, but I think like we could see Ludwig really pop here out of those three just because of what he does for your lineup construction.
How do I want to play this? I'll take Rory and Fleetwood.
Damn, it's a nice start. All right, let me think about this then. I'm going to take... Morikawa and Hoagie.
Shit.
Steal your Hoagie play.
All right. I'll take Vic Perez and Dietrich.
$100 off. I'm just thinking about when I close it out after, so I need to find. I'll take Ryan Fox for my first one. And now I got to see how I'm going to close this thing out. I think this is why I ended up having him. Shoot. Man, that sucks. Did you already took Dietrich, right?
I did.
All right, I'm going to take... shoot, that sucks. All right, I'll take Sepp Straka.
Okay. I'll take Ben Ann and Nikolai Højgaard. And I'll leave $300 on the table.
And this is why I got forced into him. I said it earlier.
This sucks. Victor Perez could have been Jordan Smith or Ben Griffin in this lineup for me.
So I'm going to take Keith Mitchell,
Okay.
just to round out because I was running a PMAM stack. I see my score. What do you got now? Rory Fleetwood, Dietrich,
Ben Ann,
and Dietrich.
Perez and Nikolai Højgaard.
I'll make sure not to click Rasmus. Okay, how much is Perez? 60.
3.
Oh, when you see it after, I know what you're saying now.
Yeah. Like I already drafted him, so I can't take him out.
Interesting. Only 2 points. I got you by 2 points
Wow.
this week. But if you had have taken
Griffin or...
Griffin, would you have taken Griffin or Smith?
Probably Griffin.
Okay, so that would have projected exact almost, like within a point.
All right, so it's a real coin flip this week.
This week we got a good battle here, yep. And
I prefer when I'm a 20-point underdog. That's usually when I win.
yeah, I mean, last week it was 9 or something, and I ended up winning. But yeah, the more you're down, usually the better you end up somehow doing. And I have like a 3 of 6.
I think it was Shipley who fucked me last week.
After I think he started strong again.
He was 4 under through 5 holes.
Then
I was
he
like,
really
here we
crashed.
go. And no, not good.
I was just looking at Ben Griffin or Jordan Smith. Yeah, okay.
I think that's a decision a lot of people are going to have. Maybe the answer is to play them both. Stack up top.
We always say that. It could be the case. If you're playing them both, Ben Griffin, Jordan Smith,
Yeah.
leaves you 9,200.
Griffin.
Ludwig, Decky. Who are some of the guys we mentioned the most?
Yeah. Ludwig.
Oh, Ludwig, Decky, Harmon, Rye. Projects just as good as our 2 lineups we just built.
Ludwig, Decky, Herman, Rye.
Yeah.
There we are.
Interesting.
It has all of the one and dones that we used from the Monday show as well, with Harmon, Rye, and I know there's no Fleetwood in this one.
This might be the first show where we peg like a massive win from it, because we started without doing the chalk one first. We took our initial thoughts and built a lineup. We got all the way to the final lineup, did our head-to-head, and then followed up with a, what about this that we just thought of when you blend them both? So this could be a huge one, Pat. Monumental show here.
Or the quickest way you can lose money this week.
Possible as well.
Ship it
Thanks for watching.
ShipItNation.com. Code Mayo will get you a discount. What do you guys got going on this week?
A lot, actually. So just real quick on it. Today, we'll have the show as usual. We got the big open coming up next week. But on Friday, we will have our NFL Early Bird launch show. So I want to talk about that. That's at 12 Eastern on the Ship It Nation YouTube station. You're not going to want to miss it because it's definitely something different than what the rest of the industry is doing and going to be the best time to get in. So check it out. You can check it out on Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern on the Ship It Nation YouTube station.
Perfect. At Toteg and Tambo on X. You can follow his Tidbits. I was going to call them Timbits, but the Tidbits. Tambo's Tidbits. I don't eat Timbits, but I'll drink a coffee. I don't even like Tim Hortons coffee.
What about the retro donuts?
It's just on my way, so it's convenient. So I end up just stopping there and getting coffee because I don't want to spend an extra 10 minutes to go to Starbucks.
That's right.
And there's no like local ones around here that I can just kind of pop into. Either way, at the PME on X, join the newsletter. It's completely free. Mayo Media on Substack will have 2 secret open shows to get you ahead of the game if you're looking for content, but those will come out on Friday and Saturday. If not, on the audio feed, it'll be video only for the secret link, plus all of the final bets, some underdog plays, everything of that nature. So use code Mayo at Underdog Fantasy right now and get yourself a deposit bonus of up to $250. Thanks for watching. I'm Pat Mayo. I'll see you next time.
Pat Mayo Experience! Experience!